Poet Professor.
Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to another video. I am the Poem Professor, also known as Dustin Rink, and today we are looking at Langston Hughes, and I just cannot express how excited I am to be looking into Langston Hughes, one of my favorite poets, definitely. But just before we get into Langston Hughes, just a quick word from our sponsors.
Things not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct, but it's wordy and hard to read.
Alrighty, good to have you guys back. So let's just jump right into it. I'm just so excited. First, let's look at some biographical stuff. He was born February 1st, 1902 in actually Joplin, Missouri, which is a bit of a surprise to many people because people often think that he was born in Harlem, but he wasn't. He was born in Joplin. To James and Carolyn Hughes, two of his parents obviously, who ended up getting a divorce later down the road, about after a year after he was born, and that had a pretty big effect on him because after they got divorced, he had to live with his grandma, Mary Langston, who was a pretty big influence on him. But he began writing poetry in high school. A lot of his more famous poems came about when he started attending Columbia University, but he just found the racism that he experienced to just be extremely off-putting. However, the value in that experience came from the city of Harlem, where he was, and it was very interesting to him, obviously. From there, he had just worked odd jobs while writing poetry. He wanted to major in writing, but the only way his parents would fund his college experience was if he majored in engineering, which he did not want to do, so he did not get his degree. So he just ended up working odd jobs. He ended up dying to prostate cancer on May 22nd, 1967. So we'll just go over some more life stuff as we get into the poetry. But for your baby's first Langston Hughes, these are kind of the basic poems that if you want to get a feel for Langston Hughes, these would be some good ones to look at. Starting with The Negro Speaks of Rivers, one of my favorites, Mother to Son, Dreams, The Weary Blues, I Too, Harlem, Theme for English B, American Heartbreak, and America. And we're going to be going over just a couple of those in today's video. It's time to get critical.
Critical.
Starting off with The American Heartbreak. Let me just read it for you. We are the American heartbreak, the rock on which freedom stumped its toe, the great mistake that Jamestown made long ago. So a couple themes in this one. The American dream, obviously slavery and racial discrimination. So the way the American dream kind of plays into this poem is because it is looking at what America could be. It is the dream for America. America is supposed to be a symbol of freedom, a symbol of great things to come. But it seems like there is a rock on which that freedom stumps its toe. And that's where the themes of slavery and racial discrimination come in. It's clear that what Langston Hughes is alluding to is slavery. He never actually says that, but it's pretty clear that's what he's alluding to. He also makes the allusions to Jamestown and perhaps the allusion to Plymouth Rock, where America was founded. So when America was founded, it kind of stumped its toe on that landing with slavery, which is a pretty big rock to stump your toe on, so to say. So slavery is just kind of a big part of Langston Hughes' poetry, the effects that it has had on the American people. And Langston Hughes often looks at, if the American dream is freedom, is equality, why has this problem persisted? Why is it something that even him back in the 60s could have experienced the effects of it? And he looks at that in some of his poetry, but American Heartbreak is a nice start to look at that. Next we have Mother to Son, and I'll read this to you. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor. Bare. But all the time, I's been a climbing on, and reaching landings and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you set down on the steps, 'cause you find it's kinda hard. Don't you fall now, for I's still going, honey. I's still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. So it's a pretty clear metaphor here. There is a mom, and she's comparing her life to a staircase. And this has themes of black pride, of social injustice, of racial discrimination. It's a mother conveying to her son the harsh reality of the life she has to experience, with a pretty easy to understand metaphor of a staircase, of course. And there's this sort of dichotomy here of a crystal staircase as compared to a staircase with tacks, with splinters, with boards torn up, where there was no carpet. And so this dichotomy that the mother sets up to her son, explaining that life is difficult, but there is an idea of persistence, of hopefulness. She says, don't you fall now, for I's still going, honey. She's telling him not to give up, to never give up, even though life gets hard, and it will be. She says not to give up. However, it's not all hopeful. She doesn't end the poem by assuming that racism will end. She doesn't say that there will be an end, that there will ever be an end. She just says to keep going. And that is hopeful, but it's kind of bittersweet, or maybe just bitter. She says to keep going, but she doesn't know that staircase will ever become a crystal staircase. And that's kind of the harsh reality of what she's conveying to her son.
Hey everyone, Editing Dustin here. I just wanted to add that Cheryl Wall said that Langston Hughes was characteristically prescient in his understanding of women's significance, and he kind of exemplifies that through mother to son, placing significance on the mothers conveying experiences to their sons, and how important that can be to the growth of their child. So he kind of had that second wave feminism blood in him, especially because of the time that he was popular. But yeah, I just wanted to add that.
For the next poem, Dreams. This is a kind of short one. So hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. So there's a rhyme scheme here. Not atypical of Langston Hughes, but kind of atypical of the poems we'll be looking at. This is one of the only poem with a rhyme scheme that we'll be looking at. So that's pretty interesting, something to look at. But some of the themes here again, the American dream, hopefulness, and then there is a sense of bittersweetness that we will get into. The hopefulness is, of course, holding fast to dreams. And Langston Hughes goes into how valuable that is. For if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. There is no purpose to a broken winged bird, not to get nihilistic, but if a bird cannot fly, the bird will not survive. And that is another kind of harsh reality, that you can't let the dreams that you have essentially just go to waste, like a broken winged bird. You have to nurture them. You have to kind of accept that those are your dreams and that they should be accomplished. But then we get into the second stanza of the poem, and that's kind of where the bittersweetness comes in. It says, hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. And here you can see the difference between the stanzas, if dreams die in the first stanza, and then when dreams go in the second stanza. In the first stanza, it's almost like he's coming to this realization that dreams gone are of no use, but we can nurture them and we can save them. And then in the second stanza, it's like he comes to another realization. When dreams go, dreams cannot stay forever. The dreams will leave, but you need to hold fast to them. You need to give value to them when they're here. And maybe that's what does give them their value, the fact that they don't stay forever. Dreams can only last so long. Either you accomplish them or you don't. And that is the realization that Langston Hughes comes to. On to the next poem. We've got the Weary Blues. And the blues play a pretty large part in a lot of Langston Hughes poetry. Not so much the poetry that we'll be going into today, But just to give you a taste of the value that Langston Hughes puts into the blues, I wanted to give a sort of free trial. So I'll read this for you. Droning a drowsy, syncopated tune, rocking back and forth to a mellow croon, I heard a Negro play. Down on Lenox Avenue the other night, by the pale, dull pallor of an old gas light, he did a lazy sway. He did a lazy sway, to the tune of those weary blues. With his ebony hands on each ivory key, he made that poor piano moan with melody. Oh, blues! Swaying to and fro on his rickety stool, he played that sad, raggy tune like a musical fool. Sweet blues, coming from a black man's soul. Oh, blues! In a deep song voice with a melancholy tone, I heard that Negro sing, that old piano moan. Ain't got nobody in all this world, ain't got nobody but myself. I's gwine to quit and my frowning, and put my troubles on the shelf. Thump, 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 went his foot on the floor. He played a few chords, then he sang some more. I got the weary blues and I can't be satisfied. Got the weary blues and can't be satisfied. I ain't happy no more, and I wish that I had died. And far into the night he crooned that tune. The stars went out, and so did the moon. The singer stopped playing and went to bed, while the weary blues echoed through his head. And he slept like a rock, or a man that's dead. So that's a little bit of a longer poem than the rest of them. But again, the theme of blues music, loneliness, despair. This is a lot more of a melancholy poem, even though the other poems were going into deep subjects like racial inequality, like social injustice. They kind of had a defiant tone to them. This one is it's melancholy. It's just sad. It's lonely. It's just, you know. Langston Hughes actually became popular during the Harlem Renaissance. And during the Harlem Renaissance, black artists were finally given the attention they deserved. And a lot of black artists thought that it should be used to put black life on a pedestal. But Langston Hughes disagreed. He said that no, we should be painting what life is really like. We shouldn't be painting a picture of what we wished life would be like, because then they would never understand. He didn't say that, you know, the man played sweet music, sweet blues all night long and went home to his happy family. He gave it like it was. He said he did a lazy sway. He crooned the mellow tune. It's words like these that kind of paint a real picture. He swayed to and fro on his rickety stool. This wasn't some great singer who amazed everyone. This was a man who was singing for, pennies on the dollar. You know what I mean? And he said he heard that Negro sing, that old piano moan, and it's lonely. It gives this feeling of despair, and that's what Langston Hughes was interested in. So.
Hey, Editing Dustin here again. So I just wanted to give what a couple critics said about Langston Hughes' blues poetry and how that kind of related to the Weary Blues. So David Chynitz argues that Hughes does not impersonate authenticity, instead he produces it. So it's not that he's impersonating blues music, instead he's making blues music because it's just so authentic. It's not the impersonation of authenticity, instead it is the production of it. Florian Gargalo says that in his poems, Hughes deploys ambiguities, kind of things that blues songwriters couldn't do because they would be singing the song to you. Hughes gets to write it down and leave it up for your interpretation, so that's powerful. Austin Graham posits that their most significant innovation was poetry that emulated pre-existing musical forms. So one of the most valuable things to come out of the Harlem Renaissance was poetry that kind of produced blues music just as good as blues music produced blues music. So that's also pretty good. And then Edward Raldrone goes even further, arguing that his poems can be real and appreciated as songs, and that they capture the mood, the feel, and the spirit of the blues. And that was all. Thanks.
Finally, the exemplary poem. Can I get a drum roll? theme for English B. Another poem that we went over in class, so I don't want to absolutely kill it, but I couldn't put any other poem as the exemplary poem. I couldn't. This one is so good. So I'll read it. The instructor said, "Go home and write a page tonight, and let that page come out of you. Then it will be true." I wonder if it's that simple. I am 22, colored, born in Winston-Salem. I went to school there, then Durham, then here, to this college on the hill above Harlem. I'm the only colored student in my class. The steps from the hill lead down into Harlem, through a park, then I cross St. Nicholas, 8th Avenue, 7th, and I come to the Y, the Harlem branch Y, where I take the elevator up to my room, sit down, and write this page. It's not easy to know what is true for you or me at 22, my age, but I guess I'm what I feel and see and hear. Harlem, I hear you. You, hear me, we two. You, me, talk on this page. I hear New York too. Me? Who? Well, I like to eat, sleep, drink, and be in love. I like to work, read, learn, and understand life. I like a pipe for a Christmas present, or records, Bessie, Bob, or Bach. I guess being colored doesn't make me not like the same things other folks who are other races. While I like to eat, sleep, drink, and be in love, I like to work, read, learn, and understand life. I like a pipe for a Christmas present, or records, Bessie, Bob, or Bach. I guess being colored doesn't make me not like the same things other folks like who are other races. So will my page be colored that I write? Being me, it will not be white, but it will be a part of you, instructor. You are white, yet a part of me as I am a part of you. That's American. Sometimes perhaps you don't want to be a part of me, nor do I often want to be a part of you, but we are. That's true. As I learn from you, I guess you learn from me, although you're older and white and somewhat more free. This is my page for English B. So the themes for this poem: the American dream, self-consciousness, and then English class, which is what we are in, so it just felt right to put it as the exemplary poem. He says that it's not easy to know what is true, but it's what he feels, what he hears, and what he sees, and that's Harlem. And maybe that is what's true to him. He gets a little self-conscious here. He says, will my page be colored that I write? What he creates, will that always be stuck to the fact that he is a person of color? And that question is never answered. He says, being me, it will not be white, which is ironic because he was writing on white paper. But he never answers the question of, will the page that he does write be colored? Because there is no answer. As soon as you find out that Langston Hughes was a colored person living in Harlem, you can never differentiate his poems from that fact. That fact will be stuck to his poems forever. So perhaps there is no answer. America is important because it transcends these things, this age and color and privilege. It transcends that, and it can be used as a tool for freedom and equality. America could be parts of a whole, both people of color and white people coming together to make a whole America. So why did I choose this as my exemplary poem? I don't think there's a better work that exemplifies Langston Hughes' work quite like this one. It maintains that there is a difference between white and black people. And even though there is that difference, he says that we can come together and we can indulge in America. So he even goes into the fact that Langston Hughes is the only student of color in the classroom. And that would be a pretty alienating thing. But he doesn't let that ruin the relationship between him and his professor, who he says is America. He overcomes that barrier of being the only colored person in the classroom to go into the fact that him and his professor make America. They make the tool for inequality and freedom, and that's valuable. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate the views. Consider leaving a like and subscribing. And that was looking at Langston Hughes, a very valuable poet. and just someone that I love to talk about. So thank you guys so much for watching.
Fire when the storm hits you.
That's it, friend.